Welcome to the Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. Todd has over 35 years of experience working with thousands of couples as a licensed therapist in his private practice. Todd shares his insights on this show. It's never too early to divorce-proof your marriage or too late to heal yourselves and have the relationship you truly want.
Hi, everybody. This is Todd Krieger. And today, what I'll be talking about, and I think it's part of probably a multiple part series here on this, is about multiple infidelities. What if you have a partner who hasn't cheated just once, but multiple times? I get this a lot in my practice, and it's serious when there's just one infidelity. But I'm talking about serial infidelities over a period of time, and I get a lot of that where it's just as painful it is for a one-time offense. There's something about multiple that put it maybe in a little bit of a special category, even though all infidelity is painful. So I'm going to be focusing more on the betrayed person for this talk, and I'm going to start with the emotional and psychological impact of infidelity. And one of the things that I find when there's a betrayed partner of multiple infidelities is they really have a tough time feeling like it's not them. They have a very tough time not personalizing it. What's wrong with me? And of course, they're saying what's wrong with you too. There's something wrong with you, but at a subtler level, or sometimes not even a very subtle level, it's like what's wrong with me? Why do they keep cheating on me? What's wrong with me? And the other thing is, if it's multiple infidelities over a period of time, another question they have, and it's very painful, is, was any part of our relationship real? I'm going to answer some of these questions, but was any part of our relationship real? And then, like I said, am I not enough? And then another question is, how do I rebuild my self-worth? So let's look at why they keep cheating on you. And I am coming from a place, I would call myself an expert just because of all the experience I've had, decades and decades now of working with this problem. And I could tell you that not once in the thousands of couples I've worked with would I say anyone cheated on you, even when there were serial cheaters or whatever you want to call it. It never once was because of the betrayed person. Now, does that mean that the betrayed person has nothing to work on? Of course not. We are all imperfect. We all have things to work on. But I do emphasize and really work hard with the betrayed person to help them, stop blending with their partner. In other words, looking at that partner's cheating as it means something about me. Now, you might learn from it. I've had many betrayed people learn how, wow, I have to learn to trust my gut. I didn't feel right about it, but I didn't pay attention to the red flags. Okay, so there's always learnings, but that has nothing to do with why that partner did it. Why do they keep cheating on you? If it's not about you, it's always about them. It's always about a part of them. And this part of them that cheated, and this kind of comes back to my take that we are made up of many parts, we're not just one whole, we're made up of many parts. And this part of that person cheated. I've had many people, now look at my YouTube comments, so they don't show remorse. The people that I see that cheated, they show remorse oftentimes. And, again, I'm not focusing on the betrayer. This time focusing on the betrayed. But the people that have remorse, which I believe is most of them, is because they have a part of them that's pretty healthy adult. It's like it's been hijacked by another part of them. And this part of them cheated for a certain reason. And of course, that's my job with my clients to figure out what those reasons were. I'll give you one example because it comes to me. I saw a couple today where she cheated. She came from a family where she got very, very, very little attention. She was always the black sheep of the family for no reason that we could figure out. Very nice person. But there was a part of her that craved attention. And so she seeked it out and she got it. She got it, it felt good, and she cheated on her husband. So it had nothing to do with her husband. Even though her husband has things to work on from the marriage, that had nothing to do with her husband. It had to do with her part, that part that hadn't been addressed, that hadn't been attended to by someone like myself or anybody that could help her face that little girl part that needed attention, that didn't get it, and that acted out. And that's just one example. But the basic answer to the question, why do they keep cheating on me, is because there's a part of them that had a different agenda than to be faithful. They were trying to get something that was important to that part. And usually it has to do with what was missing in their childhood. I won't say always. I'll say almost always, even though I pretty much find those things, that they're at least a part of it. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't choose it, and I'm not saying that they made an immoral choice. That's all true. But when you look deeper, it's because of some part of them that did that. We got to get curious what that is. But it is not about you, the betrayed person. If and I'm hoping people that did the betrayal are listening to this too. But again, you as a betrayed person, it's not about you. So now if you go to the next question, was any part of our relationship real? The answer is yes. I'll say almost always, even though it's one of those things where I'm just qualifying because I can't think of any couple that I've worked with where I could say that no part of the relationship was real, but there was this part that wasn't loving them. Not all parts of us are lovers, honest lovers that are trustworthy. There's some parts of us that might have other agendas. And some people don't have that particular part that needs to act out in that way. But there's almost always a part of that relationship was very real. The love was there. It's just that part that hijacks and pollutes the rest of it. I hope this makes sense to you. And some of you might have a reaction to this, and feel free to comment or get in touch with me. But I'm telling you that I am so convinced that this is the best way to look at it, because it's the most accurate way to look at it. The people that cheat have a part that acts out. And so that the parts of the relationship where, I'm using the word part too much, but the parts of the relationship where that part wasn't engaged was real. Am I not enough? Again, I've been answering that question in these ways. Yes, you are enough. We're all enough. Do we have things to learn? Can we improve in certain areas? Of course. But when we're open, when we have a partner that's not hiding, when we learn to connect and become what I call PIPs, partners in pain, we can learn about what we want changed, what we need more from in the other person. The hiding and the secrecy has nothing to do with you being enough. Nothing. You are enough. You are not perfect. I am not perfect. And you and I are both enough. So how do I rebuild my self-worth? Well, it does start with being to unblend from looking at your self-worth as a reflection of your partner's behavior. Your partner did what they did because they were acting out from that part. And so the first step in rebuilding your self-worth is to really know that, really deeply practice believing that, putting attention on what's true. It's difficult. We're very attached to the idea that a self-worth depends on how people treat us. And I will say that uh, I've had, I'm not saying this, it's a bad, infidelity is very hurtful, but I've had many people that were betrayed that finally got freed up from this dependency on other people. In order for them to feel good, they had to realize that they need to define, they had to self-validate. They couldn't look for their worth and be validated by somebody else's behavior that has their own issues to work out. Other ways to rebuild your self-worth is to surround yourself, of course, with supportive people, caring people. It's very difficult in these situations sometimes because people don't talk about it. It's embarrassing. They don't want to embarrass their partner. They don't want to embarrass themselves. But it's really helpful to get at least professional help, if not getting some support from a few trusted friends, family, or whatever. Last question that I'll do for this talk. And like I said, this will be the more I think about it, this will be a multiple part talk on dealing with a person who has had multiple cheating. Is it normal to still love them after everything? The answer is an emphatic yes. There's parts, you have parts too. There's a part of you that doesn't want to love them. There's a part of you that wants to hurt them and punish them and make them never forget. But there's a part of you that's invested, that's committed, that loves them. And that part also needs to be validated. Do not judge yourself if you still love them. You're a loving person. You're a caring person. And it's okay and normal and maybe even admirable to still love them after everything. Healing has to take place. It's a process you have to go through. Someone like me is great to work with to help you with that. And I have programs to help you with that. Sure. With or without me. But it is normal just to love them after everything. I think I've spoken enough on this right now. Like I said, I'll do more in the very near future. But I just want to tell you that um, it is not about you. There is hope if you want to make this relationship work. And we learn to accept the complexity of life and the complexity of relationships. In an upcoming talk, what I might want to talk about is what a reformed multiple cheater looks like, and how would you know? How would you know that this person truly is learning and is safe to be around, and you can begin a process of trust? I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about that next. So anyway, thanks for listening. This is Todd Krieger, making the world safe for love.
That's it for today's episode of Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. For free resources and materials, head over to toddkrieger.com. Loved this episode? Head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.